What's up guys, hope you're keeping well and enjoying the course. In this video I'm going to jump into an office premium calculation. So let's go through this together. A company issues a whole life assurance policy to a person aged exactly 30 with a sum assured of $850,000 payable at the end of the year of death. Initial commission 80% of the annual gross premium. I'm going to highlight these expenses in red so when we come back we'll know 80% of annual gross premium, and then there's an initial expense of 2,700 and renewal expenses 3%. Okay, yeah, just highlighted everything. That was super helpful. And then we've got an interest rate of 4% per annum effective. Nice. So I'm not attaching any live table here. I don't want to be going back and forth. So I put numbers here that we'll be using. If we need more, I'll just add them as we go along. So the first question is saying calculate the annual net premium. Cool, so these payments are annual. The company issues a whole life assurance policy, and then the sum assured is 800. Cool. Let me also maybe highlight sum assured. It's a lot of writing. So these questions, it looks like a lot of writing. However, once we pick it apart and put a formula down, it's very simple, straightforward, nothing much to it. So let's start. The first question is saying we must calculate the annual net premium. You must remember that there's a net premium and a gross premium. These are two different things. So typically in a question, they would first ask you to calculate the annual net premium because it's a lot quicker, a lot simpler. Or we're just calculating a yearly premium that we're going to pay based on, or whatever premium it is you're paying, maybe it's once off. But we're only basing this off of the benefit or claim that you're receiving. There's no expenses or profit margins included in this formula. I also want to talk about, in these formulas, claims and benefits are typically used interchangeably. They pretty much mean the same thing. If you want to get very technical, a benefit is it's like an amount, a payment that's promised by some policy contract. However, this amount is known in advance, like in the contract, such as a death benefit or some maturity benefit that you'll receive at maturity of the contract. And then claims are actual requests that we're sending to our insurer that needs to be processed by our insurer. So it's not known in advance, such as a benefit. However, the expected present value when we're pricing and doing our valuations, the expected present value of benefits is equals to expected cost of future claims. That's why we can use them interchangeably. And I've never had an issue for using one instead of the other. It's not that deep. That's not what these calculations are about. Anyway, that was enough about that. Let me write a formula for net premium. So this is net office premium that we're working with. So I'm using benefit because this is a whole life assurance policy, which means that whenever this person dies for the rest of his life, at the end of that year, this amount will be paid out probably to his family, his partner, anything like that. Let's do this. I'm just going to go down. I'm not going to do this separately because it's so simple. So I'll start with the left-hand side. So to calculate the expected present value of our net premiums, these are the amounts that we're going to be paying. So we're trying to calculate that net premium. So I'm going to just use an N for that. However, it's not just a one-time payment. These payments are being paid every year while we're still alive, right, in advance. So, and this person is aged 30, am I right? His age? Yeah, this person is aged exactly 30. So that's why we use these. And you'd remember this notation, this we used in the expected present value of an annuity paid in advance. So it's following the same principle. And then on the right-hand side, to work out the expected present value of the benefit, the sum assured is 850,000. Then working in dollars, that's nice. And here we're not using the small a, but the capital A for a person aged 30. And if you'd recall in one of my previous videos when we introduced these notations, the capital A is quite literally the expected present value of a whole life insurance benefit for a person aged X. X being, in this case, our 30-year-old person. Okay. So now we're just going to, and these two values are both tabulated on your live tables. So I've taken my live tables and gotten these values, so we'll just sub it in. Now we'll just do math to calculate n, pop it in a calculator, n is equal. So that's the answer for number one. There's not much to this question. So now the second part is asking us to calculate the annual gross premium. Now we need to account for expenses and profit margins and the risk margins, all of that. But this question is only giving us the EPV of the gross premiums is going to look the same as earlier, literally just that. So but I'll do these separately because now we're working with three bodies. So I'll just call it a G is equals to G times by N for the same reason why we did that in the previous question, and the small a30 we said is 21.061. That's that. That's the EPV of the benefit, which is going to be the 850,000 multiplied by the big A30, which we can simplify in a calculator. 161,400. Cool. Now let's jump into our new part, the expenses. Let's discuss our expenses. The first one, the simplest one that's popped into my mind is the 2,700, because this is our initial expense. There's no discounting happening. It's happening at time zero. However, the first one, initial commission, we're going to treat it the exact same as initial expense. A bit more calculations happening here, but also no discounting happening. But renewal expenses, this 3% of each gross premium excluding the first. So it's starting at our second payment. If this is a timeline, our contract starts here, time 0, 1, 2, what, this is a whole life. Our first payment would be here, then we've got another one there, so technically these are in arrears. However, when we're doing these contingency calculations, this for the math stuff, working in advance is easier because this value is tabulated. A30 is not tabulated, but you should remember this formula. So by me working with the expected value of these not annuity payments, but our payments now in advance, doesn't do much. It just makes it simpler. Otherwise, if you want to do another type of conversion, go for it. Not lots of time when you're answering these type of questions, but let's see if we get the same answer. Cool. Let's do that. So I'll start with the 2,700. That's a nice simple one, and then the 80%. It was 80% of our premium, which I'll just make variable G because that's what we're calculating. And now the 3% of our gross premium, right? And then I'll do A.30 minus 1 because these payments are in arrears, how I showed on that timeline. So let's simplify this a bit where we can. That's all I can do here. We know this because I'll write it here again just to stress that this is equals to, okay, let's continue. And we know that, so we know this, it's tabulated, so this is going to be 20.061 times by G. Just simplified one last time. G 0.8 plus cool. So now let's substitute all of this into our initial formula here. We've got the left-hand sign being G 21 is equals to 161,400 plus 2,700 plus G 1.40183. Now all we're doing is calculating G. So just in a calculator. One six four one six. Oh, what's happening here? Doesn't look right. Oh, wow! These two numbers are so similar. Had me second guessing, but we're good. Let's continue. Therefore, G is equals to and I guess it's fine if you go 350.61. And this question was in dollars, so let's give our answer. Dollars, that's what we're working for. There's our answer. You can see that it should make some intuitive sense that this, our gross premium, is pretty much quite a significant amount larger than our net premium because now we are accounting for expenses that we must also pay in our premiums. So I hope this helped. Keep well. I'll see you.